Good evening. Today in the Man Cave, we're trying something new. We just got back from seeing Ghostbusters, the
Frozen Empire.
Frozen Empire, and so we're gonna do a little bit of a review about how we thought about it. I'm gonna give you a spoiler warning right now because we may say some stuff that might access or talk about a specific scene in the movie, but we're not intentionally doing that. Okay, this is just our initial impression of what we thought. We got Slimer, the popcorn bucket. I thought that was really cool. So he's going to be our special guest on the Man Cave today. This is my son, Gabriel. He's the one who edits these things. And I thought we'd have a conversation about how we liked the movie. So what'd you think?
I liked it a lot. I think comparing it to Afterlife is hard because they seem very different movies.
They did.
They seemed very different.
Well, there's, even in movie time, I think there was 2 years between the two movies. So, because he went from being...
From 12 to 15, it was a 3-year gap.
Oh, 3 years, okay.
Just like the release was 2021
okay.
to 2024.
So that was nice that they kept that kind of real.
That was consistent. It's not jumping around like most modern day stuff.
And story-wise, it was linked, so it was a good sequel because it built on what they had done before. I like that. I thought that this was a less scary movie. I mean, we brought his little brother and sister. So we had an 8-year-old and a 7-year-old, and we had watched Afterlife last night getting ready for this movie, and my 7-year-old kind of had some scared moments in that one.
He grabbed my arm a lot.
Yeah,
grabbed my arm a lot.
This one geared more toward, I think, the comedy than it did to the fear. It was very reminiscent of the original Ghostbusters movie.
There was definitely still that fear aspect.
Oh yeah, there was still it's scary. There's some scary stuff.
Yeah,
but it was offset.
It's more connected to scenes instead of it's like individual scenes instead of like full on like action sequences.
Right.
Well, I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, it's interesting too because the original Ghostbusters was about Gozer and the terror that was coming and the big fear in the story. And the original sequel to Ghostbusters was, I mean, it was a little bit cornball-y. There was that
Statue of Liberty walking down the street.
Right. You have the ectoplasm that's mood activated. And so that story was never as scary as the original either. It went more into comedy.
Yeah.
You know, and so this
it's almost a mirror.
Right. And I kind of like that because although I got to say in the 80s when I watched the first Ghostbusters movie, it was incredible. Mm-hmm. And when I watched the second Ghostbusters movie, I was a little bit disappointed. It took a while for it to grow on me and to be, especially after 2016 when the movie not to be mentioned was attempted and you realize how good the original sequel really was. I did not feel that this time. This time I felt this was a good movie on its own. It fits in the same universe they built with the first with Afterlife. And I enjoyed where they were going with it.
And see, I'm kind of a mix of both of those reactions. Because I did think it felt good, but I was also like, well, Afterlife did this part of the movie better. But here in Afterlife, I was, like, a lot more invested. And, like, I did not think the ending was not nearly as fulfilling as Afterlife was.
Yeah, but, I mean, that was in a way, though, that's a little bit of a meta commentary because Afterlife was paying off a 30-year promise of a true Ghostbusters sequel that laid rest to the past, built on the future, and gave fans something they wanted. And I felt we got that with Afterlife. Yeah. With this one, that pressure was gone. And it was like, we got to make a good sequel to the last movie. I do think that if they make a third one, we do not need to see a good guy ghost.
I agree. I
think that the young Spangler girl watching a ghost evaporate into the cosmos. Okay, done that, been there. Let's move on.
Twice, no.
It was much more meaningful.
Afterlife made sense.
Right, it was more meaningful in the first one, too, yeah.
The way they handled Melody as a character was interesting because...
I felt she needed to be fleshed out more in her backstory.
Yes. Because all we got was, this last match let my whole family up. Killed my family and me.
We don't know if she did it on purpose.
She said it was an accident.
Well, yeah,
which heavily implies it was her fault.
Right. She was the one that. Well, she died too.
But that implies that she's the one that lit the match.
She couldn't see her family. It could have been the guilt that was keeping her there.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff that they didn't. They
didn't flesh it out enough. Because
even the idea of where she happened to be at the diner and it was the Melody Diner. I was like, well, what does that mean? They don't really go into anything about that. Did that used to be her house?
I think she said it was a family name, so I think that was her family's diner because the matchbox she had also said Melanie's Diner.
Oh, okay. I missed that part.
Yeah.
Maybe they lived upstairs or something.
It just showed the match. It like the next scene when it's here in the basement.
I see.
It shows what's on the matchbox for like 2 seconds.
Okay.
So they didn't really go in. They didn't flesh it out as much as they probably should have.
Overall, though, I thought it was a good movie. It's a decent family film. It was a little shorter than the last one. This one was 115 minutes. The last one was 124. It felt similar. I thought that the rest of the characters were handled okay. There was almost too many.
Yes.
Like some of the characters that they brought in from the previous movie, they did so without a lot of explanation.
Yeah.
Like, Podcast says, "Oh, I told my parents I'm at space camp," and that's it. It's like, what the heck?
And Lucky is an intern.
Right, Lucky's an intern in an engineer firm that happens to be the
I think
premier
she
Ghostbusters
is.
or whatever.
Winston is like a billionaire. Like he's
right,
really
I got
rich.
that.
So I think she's just his intern.
Oh, I understand.
And he's
that
like,
too.
"Well, come do
but
this."
What I'm saying is, in the first movie with her,
Yeah.
she's from a small town. Her dad's the sheriff. She talks about being fourth generation, never expecting to go anywhere. We have no idea what's happened 2 years later.
Yeah.
For some reason, all of the Spanglers no longer live in that little dirt town. Now they're in New York. They're established.
They're the Ghostbusters.
Right. We saw a little bit of that in the end credit scene in the first movie, where we see the Ecto-1 driving on the bridge.
But that's not even who the Ghostbusters were in the first one.
Well,
not in Afterlife. Because the Ghostbusters were Lucky, Podcast, Phoebe, and Finn Wolfhard's character.
Right.
Trevor. So those four were the Ghostbusters. And then in this one, it's Phoebe, Trevor, the mom.
The Spanglers.
And
Paul Rudd's Gary.
Yes.
Gary
Guberman.
Guberman.
It's Gruberson.
Yeah. You don't want to be a Gruberson. But no, and I thought that.
And I think they handled that a bit well, but I
liked it.
I was expecting the Ghostbusters to be the four that were set up in the last movie.
Well, that's just not feasible when you have a group of kids or somebody somehow going to get transported. That's why both Podcast and Lucky felt a little strange in this movie.
Yeah. I think Podcast kind of made like
he grew up the most.
He
totally did not look like the same
looked
kid.
Different.
But I mean, that kid, we definitely can say that kid hit puberty. I'm pretty sure it's the same actor, but that kid, that kid ate completely different. Like
Phoebe looks the same.
Phoebe looks a
Phoebe
little
looked
bit,
the same.
She looks like somebody who's growing up. I mean, it's
a bit taller.
She's a bit taller. She's a bit less gangly.
You could definitely tell it was the same person for sure.
Well, yeah.
Trevor had already gone through puberty.
See,
Finn Wolfhard was already there.
Right, but all of the kids, the one that played the strangest was Trevor.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a point in the movie where I was like, "Wait, what happened to Trevor? Where did he go?" And then he comes back. And I was sitting next to Gabriel when we were in the theater. He goes, "Well, he was here." I was like, "I don't remember him in that scene even."
Well, no, because he
was just at the firehouse. Yeah.
Spoiler, but when Phoebe gets arrested,
right,
and it's just
parents.
Just the mom and Gary who go to bail her out of jail. So that's why he's not there because he's back at the firehouse because. But then when they to help the fire master, that was a weird aspect of the movie.
Even when they bring that in, and he's like, "Well, you told me to practice." I'm like, I don't remember them even meeting. I remember Lucky being there.
Yeah, no, he was there when they go into his apartment. He's there, Lucky's there, okay. And the other guy who I don't know who that guy is, but the other guy was there.
The blonde kid with the messed up hand.
The messed up hand because he froze his hand. Yeah.
Okay. Another person that it was like, why is he in this movie?
Yeah, he was a random addition who was, I mean, not against his character at all.
Well,
I think he was
Lucky
kind of fun.
Is just an intern, they needed somebody to be the professional.
Yeah.
So they had him. And the other Ray's team of people, the other ones of them, they are in there for one scene and then never come back, which is fine because, like I said, they almost had an overabundance of characters anyway.
I liked how they used Ray a lot. I thought that was cool.
Okay.
What? Do you not agree?
Ray was all right.
Winston
was okay, but the whole these are your golden years. But it was almost as if his character was inconsistent throughout. in the beginning, he's like, "Oh, I'm a Ghostbuster at heart. I understand all the necessity for this. This is why I'm doing this."
Yeah.
And then he's like, "What are you doing, man? We got to do something else, man. Figure out a different way to do this."
No,
I was like, what the
he's
heck?
funding the current Ghostbusters.
I understand that.
But he himself wants to retire. He's done fighting ghosts.
I get that.
He wants
but
to
for
sit
him
back.
to yell at Ray, and he's like, "Well, you put the kids in danger." And when that part happened, I was like, "Okay, maybe that's what he's talking about. He's just worried about this because it's his legacy too." But overall, I mean, we don't want to get into every nitpicky thing in the movie. I do want to say, I believe that this is worth watching. It was very good. I'm glad we went to the theater. We don't do that very often. As a family, it cost us a little over $100 to go to a movie.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it was $101. So
how much did you spend? Because we got the 3 gift cards,
which were $25 a piece. That's $75.
We had $26 back.
No, it was $26 still owed. I thought.
Oh, that was okay.
Because all the gift cards
that
they
makes
gave to the
more
kids
sense.
to play with.
Okay.
And yeah, we got popcorn and pop, and we got a special popcorn bucket. But still, that's a hefty fee.
And that is a lot of money, but
in this case, I think it was worth it. I'm glad we saw it in theaters, and I will buy it on DVD.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's about it from the minds here of the Men in the Man Cave.
Let us know if you would like to see another sort of video like this. We have tons of movies on the shelves we could talk about.
we could do.
We have
everything.
Tons of stuff we can go over and talk about.
I was thinking about doing a comics corner too.
Well, that could be interesting. Maybe a book thing. Just a book corner.
Books a lot harder because it takes longer to read. Comic books.
We could discuss popular book stuff.
That's true.
Stuff.
Book series.
Yeah.
What book should they make into a movie? What book should they never make into a movie? What books shouldn't they have made into movies because the books were so good that the movies couldn't help but spoil them? There's a ton of different topics, but
that's a whole other discussion for another time.
Thanks for joining us. Have a good evening. You're not going to say goodbye?
Oh, bye-bye.